Yeah, the only thing I worry about, he doesn't speak English. I want to see him sit down and talk. One thing about David Beckham, he learned to speak English for us, only with an accent, when he came at 32 years old. Messi said this: if it had been a matter of money, I'd have gone to Arabia or elsewhere. It seemed like a lot of money to me. The truth is that my final decision goes elsewhere and not because of money.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode 3 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lillianwall. I got producer Noah here with me. Noah, say what's up to the people.
What is going on, everybody? It's a beautiful day to be an MLS fan.
We have got a great show for you today. Third episode, and Lionel Messi is coming to MLS.
The GOAT.
The literal GOAT is coming to the league, and we are going to spend most of this show just vibing out because, I mean, this is crazy.
Unprecedented, incredible, headline news, front page news of every newspaper in the country. It's what it should be.
So we're gonna call it official. It's being talked about widely as official. We've been doing a lot of content on the website about it, as you can probably imagine.
Drive those clicks, baby. Let's go. Come on.
It seems like it's happening. It's happening, Noah. He's coming to the league. He's coming to Inter Miami. And this is huge news. I don't think I even need to say that. It's the biggest player acquisition in league history. There's been some big names that have come here. I mean, you can go through the list. David Beckham is the one who kind of started it all off. You've had Wayne Rooney come to this league. You've had Zlatan come to this league. You've had Frank Lampard come to this league. You've had Steve Pirlo come to this league. You've had Steven Gerrard. This blows them all out of the water. It really does.
Yeah.
This is the greatest player to ever play the game.
Hands down.
One of the best competitive athletes to ever live. Probably the best, in my opinion. You know, there might be different takes on that based on what sport you like the most. But, you know, there's that pantheon of iconic, generational, kind of god-tier athletes like Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Serena Williams, Sue Bird. Shout out Seattle Storm. Messi is on that list, and I think you could make at least a very credible argument that he's at the top of it. And I think most people know that much, but I think it's still worth driving that home just because, you know, you're talking about something that's bigger than just like the sports world with this, or just the soccer world. You're talking about something that's on a different level than even all that.
It's basically like Michael Jordan going to play basketball in Europe. It's not just a spectacle for sport, it's a spectacle for culture.
100%. He might be the most famous person alive. Like I don't know.
Close,
I don't know how many
sure.
people you could put above him. You know, you got like Obama,
Ronaldo,
Ronaldo's close, but he might legitimately be the most famous person on planet Earth, and that's not hyperbole or exaggeration. No. That's how global his reach is.
I remember when we were talking about this potentially happening, we were kind of referencing when Argentina came and played here in Seattle, and just the aura around people even having the chance of seeing Messi from like 300 yards away.
Yeah, so I'll actually just tell that story right now. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that, but that's a good thing to talk about here. So Argentina was here in Seattle in 2016 for the Copa America, and they trained at Starfire, where the Sounders train. And I got to go out to that training session because what happened was Argentina needed basically like practice dummies, like stand-in defenders while they were going through their training for the games. And they let these Sounders Academy kids be the training dummies. So my assignment was to go to Argentina training and talk to a few of these Academy kids afterward. And like, you know, the story was about just essentially like what the experience was like training with the Argentina national team, and specifically the experience of training with Messi. So I go out there to Starfire, and I was pretty hyped just because I knew Messi was going to be there, and they have a lot of superstars on their team. So I was geeking out a little bit, mostly over Messi, but just over the whole notion that I was going to be, up close to the Argentine national team. And I get there, and it was easily the wildest scene I've ever seen at Starfire. One of the wildest scenes I've ever seen anywhere. There was like probably like 1,000 people there. I don't know the exact number. I don't know if it was actually 1,000, but it felt like 1,000. And what struck me about it was just the intensity of the emotion of it. It literally, I'm not joking, was like being in the presence of a godlike figure. The thing I always compare it to is it elicited the same emotions in people that I saw like when I went and saw Obama speak in high school. Like, remember how emotional and just like connected people seem to feel when that guy would give speeches? Like that type of presence and aura. Messi's the only one that I can think of that approached like that Obama level presence. And it was even crazier than that because soccer fans are a little crazy. So when Argentina's bus pulled up, there was like flocks of people running after the bus and like jumping up against it. I saw multiple people like crying, sobbing. And they ran after the bus all the way until it pulled up near the practice fields. And what they had done was they blocked off the fences with like tarps, basically, so no one could see. They didn't want people seeing the practice. So you couldn't see like through the fence where the team was training. And you had people like literally trying to climb over and scale the fence just to get a glimpse of Messi. And there was like cops there, and they were like pulling people off the fence or like, get down, like, and people were like wilding out at the police because they were trying to like keep everything under control. Like, it was actually crazy. But what was the coolest part about it for me was like I actually got to go in to the training because I had this assignment to interview the academy kids, and I didn't get to stay in there for very long. There was only like 10 to 15 minutes, if I remember correctly, where media actually got to be in there. But when I was in there, I was pretty close to the players. They were passing the ball around when I was in there, some distance away from me. It wasn't like I was standing right there. But there was one point where I was standing off where they had media, and there were players that were walking out on the field, and at one point Messi was like walking pretty close to me, and he was I would say he was probably like 10 to 15 feet away from me. And that's probably the hardest I've ever geeked out in my life, because it's just like, you've been watching this guy on TV for, years and years, and you see all the amazing things that he does, and you know like what status he has, not just in the game, but globally. And it was definitely a moment where I was like, wow, I'm in the presence of like something that like transcends even this sport that I love. Like, this is like a generational icon outside of just this sport. And I was wide-eyed right there, like being that close to him. I'll definitely remember that for the rest of my life. And then eventually, I think I did get to stand out there for a while, but eventually media, I think, had to leave. And I did my interviews with the academy kids. I'm actually going to find this story. I'll tweet out a link to it. Because talking to them was pretty fun, because they were actually like on the field while Argentina was going through their practice and doing their drills. And I mean, they all actually played the game, so they were probably geeking out even more than I was. And I remember having a lot of fun doing those interviews. Those kids, it was like some U15 kids and maybe like a U17er, and they were on cloud nine, man. Like, they will remember that forever because they actually. And I remember one of the quotes I included in the story was he was one of the kids. It was one of the kids saying, like, I was just watching him the whole time because, like, when you're in the presence of greatness, like, you're trying to, like, kind of just, like, how does he do the little things? Like, what makes him that great? And they were trying to soak all that up. So that was a pretty fun day. And then they were there to play in the Copa America. I believe they were playing Chile. Could be misremembering that, but I remember
Chile or Bolivia or something.
But so during that game, it was kind of the same thing. Like, the aura in the stadium was just different. Like, he didn't play until the second half. He subbed on, but literally during the first half, I remember the entire crowd was chanting Messi, Messi, like, pretty much the whole game. And I remember thinking, like, damn, like, this is what it's like everywhere he goes. Like, he doesn't play a game where it's not like this. So that's something to think about when we're thinking about the type of impact that this is going to have on MLS. Like, this is about to be crazy. Every single road game that he plays is going to be a spectacle, 100%. Like, there are players from different teams that have been draws at road stadiums before. Like, I would say Zlatan was like that a little bit. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of Galaxy games where people were like, oh, Zlatan's in town. Like, I should go check that out. And he probably put more people in the seats to an extent. I'm telling you, this is different. This is going to be an entirely different level because this guy's status is on a different level than any player that you could name, not just that's ever played in the league, but that's ever played the game. So y'all are going to see every single road game he plays is going to be sold out. It's going to be crazy. There's going to be like people spilling outside the stadium just trying to get like one glimpse of him. It's a different type of presence than almost any person on earth. This is such a big story that even Fox News dished a take on this. You might have heard it at the top of the show. We had to put it as the intro. Fox News had a take. They're kind of going through it over there on Fox News. Their boy's in deep with the feds again. So I wasn't even expecting him to dish a Messi take, but they dished one.
Everyone's getting in on the fun.
Everyone's getting in on it. The host said, what was his take? He said,
he just wanted him to learn English.
He said that he was concerned that his concern with the signing was that Messi doesn't know English,
right,
and that he wants to hear him speak. And then he said that David Beckham was gracious enough to learn English when he came here. David Beckham, who hails from England.
To be fair, I mean, not an incorrect take. He was speaking British English before.
Yeah, so he tried to save it. Some people said he was joking. I think he realized how stupid what he said was, like, immediately, and tried to salvage it. But either way, yeah, shout out to David Beckham for graciously learning English upon his arrival to MLS. Good take, Fox News. Glad you weighed in on it.
I get all my Premier Soccer information from, the morning shows on Fox News. But hey, that's another W for MLS, because now your grandparents know that the league exists and that a random Argentinian man is now playing in the league.
A lot of my friends who don't even like soccer were texting me about this and asking how they pulled this off and if I was surprised that it happened. I'm actually not like totally shocked, just in the sense that these links between Inter Miami and Messi have been reported for a while. There's been smoke to this for a long time. I don't know if there's maybe he's boys with David Beckham, who's one of the co-owners of Inter Miami, but I haven't read anything to the effect that it was like David Beckham was the main source behind this. I think Jorge Mas, their majority owner, I believe. I think he must have some crazy connections, number one, to be the MLS club that Messi would consider. It doesn't seem like it was like a bidding war. It seemed like in his mind it was like, if I'm going to Miami. I think that's part of it.
I think when you have that stature, you just say where you want to go. And you're like, this is what I will take.
But there's got to be some reason why Miami was the one that he decided on. So I think that you got to give a lot of credit to their ownership. I'm sure Chris Henderson was doing everything he could behind the scenes to make it happen. So the fact that they pulled it off, I mean, that's no easy feat. I mean, think about the competition that they did have. They didn't have any within MLS, to my knowledge, at least, that's been reported. But basically, it came down to 3 clubs. Inter Miami was one of them. The Saudis were another. And Homecoming to Barcelona was the third. The Saudis offered him 1.3 billion euros is what I read.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 1.3.
No, it was over $1 billion for sure.
They offered him
That's
a bill.
all I know.
Okay. So that means that Messi was in a situation where he had a bill on the table and he passed that up to come to MLS in Inter Miami. Barcelona, that's the club that he became this icon. He came up through their youth system and played for their first team, where he became a superstar for, I don't know, like 20 years or something.
Yeah, majority of his career.
I mean, obviously, the majority of his career. He only moved to PSG like in the last year or two. How many?
It was like 3 seasons or something.
He might have
2 or 3
done.
seasons.
He might have done 2 seasons for PSG. It's either 1 or 2. But
It would have been a homecoming.
it would have been like, he has such an emotional connection to that club, right? Like I think for whatever reason that fell through. I know Barcelona. I know Barcelona's going through it a little bit financially, and that might have been the reason that they couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, I don't think they were anywhere close numbers wise. I think it would have been like I guess I'll go back and play for
and
you.
I think if honestly, I think if the numbers had been there for Barcelona, that seems like where his heart was.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever wanted to leave there. I think he realistically wanted to play his whole career there. Yeah. There was weird stuff with that when he moved to PSG. Like, he didn't want to leave.
Wasn't that like something to do with the tax evasion shit too?
I mean, I honestly don't know, but he
alleged. I actually don't know.
It's just it's no easy feat to box those 2 clubs out.
No,
I mean,
it is hands down the most impressive signing this league has ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no comparison for this. There's no comparison for this, and there's been a lot of talk about how monumental it is. So when you have something that's this monumental, you're automatically going to have the contrarian takes where people talk about, well, I have to sound like I'm super smart and edgy, so this is why this is actually like not that tight. Like, this is actually like not that big a deal. If you're a fan of MLS, do not pay attention to, lend any credence to at all, or let anyone tell you in any capacity that this isn't a big deal, or that this isn't cool, or that this isn't a massive, massive boon for both MLS and soccer in this country. I'll tell you what, I've seen some takes out there. It's unfortunate that we have to deal with this, but they were already flying around. I think by and large, the consensus is that this is a great thing for MLS and a great thing for the league, and it's gonna be fun to watch. But you do have some takes flying around, and I was already seeing the retirement league stuff. Okay, and so we got to talk about this. I saw one really funny tweet in particular. Someone busted into my mention, or not into my mentions, into my friend Tom Bogart's mentions, and they used the phrase "virtually retired" to describe Messi in order to try and downplay his arrival to MLS. They called the man virtually retired.
That's a take.
All right, so every time a player that's later on in their career, which Messi's 35, so he's closer to the end of his career than he is to the beginning. Every time that happens, we hear it. And, I'll even say there's some cases where there has been truth to that. Like that does come from somewhere. We talked about some of the names already, but like Pirlo comes to mind, I would say. Lampard comes to mind. Steven Gerrard comes to mind as guys who were past it in terms of their like top end production.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney to a lesser extent, although Wayne Rooney, he was pretty damn good for DC United. Like,
he played well.
However past it people tried to make it sound to confirm their narratives, Wayne Rooney was a baller for DC United. He actually, I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but he had probably the best individual play I've ever seen from an MLS player. The famous one where he ran the guy all the way down on defense, slide tackled the ball off him, and then launched in one of the craziest assists I've ever seen. He was in his own end, I want to say.
It was like the 35-yard line on a football field, basically.
He nuked this. It was a cross, but it was from his own end, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a beautiful ball, too.
He put it right on Lucho Acosta's head.
Yeah.
And they scored the game-winning goal, and it was in like the 94th minute or something. Yeah. I legitimately think, like, when you talk about just like the greatest individual effort plays in MLS history, like that's the one that I would name, Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
Zlatan's also an example of a guy where I know the Galaxy didn't win anything with Zlatan, and that's kind of what people point to when they're trying to undermine his time in MLS. The dude scored 52 goals in 56 games for the Galaxy, I believe.
He was automatic.
And you could say that Zlatan, like, was a little past it when he got to the Galaxy, and people were saying like, oh, the fact that he scored that many goals, that just shows that like MLS sucks.
Yeah.
But Zlatan scored goals like that in every league he ever played in.
Yep.
Every league he ever played in. Name the league, and he was putting up those types of numbers. Yeah. So I really like don't think that actually showed.
And then went
much.
back to Europe.
And so that's the other thing. Like that's actually further disproven by the fact that Zlatan went back to Italy with Inter Milan after he was on the Galaxy and was still banging in goals until he retired like a week ago. Yeah. Like he was still producing. So I don't think that one applies as much. But there are players historically that have come here when they're not in their prime. It's kind of like a bookend to their career. All right. But to call Messi a retirement league signing, I mean, you got to get real if you're saying that. You got to think about what you're saying. You got to stop trying to confirm your priors for 5 seconds and just think about who you're talking about and the way he's been playing recently, because it's been very good. All you talking about retirement league out there, you know what the World Cup is? Are you aware of that prestigious competition? Did you watch it? Do you know who won it? Do you know who was named the best player at it? These are all questions that you have to ask yourself before you call this a retirement league signing. And you got to think about that before you start tweeting, okay? I'll answer those questions for you right now in case you might not be aware. But the World Cup is the biggest soccer tournament in the world. All right. It's the most prestigious and most important tournament that you can win. Messi, not sure if you're aware of this, retirement league people, he plays for the Argentina national team. All right. He's the star player of it. Has been for many years. They won the World Cup. They won it. And Messi was named the most outstanding player at the World Cup because he carried their team like he always has to that victory. That was about 6 months ago. That was 6 months ago. I don't really think he's past it. All right.
The whole argument is usually like post World Cup win is the highest value you will ever be in your career.
Right. And I get that maybe not in the sense that like the only thing you could say is that he's 35.
Right.
But like that's you have to look at the production and how he's playing and are his teams performing. But like I think the World Cup thing is the main thing that would undermine any notion that this is a player who's past his ability to play it at his elite level. But even looking at how he played with PSG, like for that narrative to make sense, you have to have he has to be declining.
Yeah,
he has to be like you have to look at how he played at PSG.
Is PSG a retirement club? Because that could be the argument. Once you look
right,
Barcelona,
you could say that too. But like,
it's like no,
just before you say these things, look at his production with PSG.
Yep.
Just look it up. It's all Googleable, folks. You can look it up. He had a 2020 season with PSG across all competitions. It was like 21 goals, 20 assists. I think maybe what's happening with people saying that he's declining, well, part of it is just people are obsessed with their priors. Like they can't fathom that MLS pulled off this signing. And so it has to be automatically, oh, well, it's because he's past it. He had a 2020 season with PSG, but maybe it's because like when you go through Messi's career, like the thing that's craziest to look at is just like how staggering his goal totals are, like in relation to games played. Like you literally go through it and it's like there are seasons where Barcelona played like 50 games across all comps and he's got like 54, 56 goals or something in 50 games played. All right. And it's like all the way down. Like it's like the guy that he had that production for most of his career for Barcelona. Like the numbers were like that. And then if you look at PSG, it's like only like 21 goals this year. But I mean, it's still a 2020 season. That's still staggeringly elite production. I don't think the French defenders had much to say to him.
No.
Like he torched that league. So I don't know. He's not sounding very past it to me. And it's just funny that people like would still go to that to me. Like I was thinking maybe that Messi would be the one guy where you couldn't do that, but nope. They're still dishing those takes. But here's the other thing I really need people to understand about this. Like, and it's why I wish people would do research and learn about what they're talking about before they tweet. MLS is very much a young player driven league now. That's it. That kind of movement has been happening over the last 3 or 4 years, I would say, in earnest. That started to happen, but it's been a concerted thing to make it more young player based. You can see this in a few ways, but I would say the primary 2 ways that you can see this are the U22 initiative that the league installed. So you can sign additional designated players if they're under 22. So a lot of teams have been making use of this. Like Seattle signed Leo Chu as a U22 initiative player. And the reason that they did that is so teams would be incentivized to sign younger players. And, you know, ideally, I think the goal is to sell those players on to bigger clubs for big transfer fees, and then you invest that money in getting better and better players to MLS.
The FC Dallas model, but actually getting players in return for who you sell.
Right. So they U22 initiative, and also increased investment in youth academies. We've seen that more and more and more. FC Dallas is a team that's become famous for it, but a lot of other teams are really investing a lot more in that. Seattle is one of them. I would say the Philly Union are kind of leading the charge on that. But you could go down the list. Honestly, Inter Miami is a team where they have a pretty good youth academy set up. They're starting to get a lot of their players playing for the first team. You can look throughout the league and see that increased investment in the academy setup, and these players are starting to actually make impacts on the first team. Here in Seattle, like, you're just in the last couple years starting to see the fruits of that labor. It was something that Garth Lagerwey really was trying to hammer home. That was one of his biggest projects when he took over as GM, was building the youth academy setup. Because, I mean, first of all, he understood that was a way. That's a hack to the salary cap.
Yeah.
Homegrown players don't count against the salary cap. So if you are able to develop a crop of academy players, homegrown players that actually become meaningful, impactful players for the first team, that becomes a huge leg up. All right. I mean, think about the production that Seattle has gotten from Jordan Morris over the years. Dude's homegrown player. He doesn't count against the salary cap. Like, that's a massive, massive advantage. If you can hit like the Union have on like multiple of those guys, that gives you such an advantage. That's part of the reason the Union are so good.
Yeah.
Without being like a big splashy spending team, is because of how dedicated they've been to that. It's taken place all across the league. So the point is, not only is like MLS not a league where it's just like washed up Euro players ending their careers here. It's actually literally the exact opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
It is the exact diametric opposite of what you're saying when you tweet that. All right. So I need you. I don't know if that many people who buy into the retirement stuff will listen to a podcast hosted by me, but if any of you are out there and you happen to be listening to this,
arm the people for the arguments on Twitter.
I need you to understand that what you're saying is not only wrong, it's literally the opposite of true. Like, it's a young player driven league. That's what it's becoming. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Like we're doing this with literally Messi.
Yep.
Like, I just don't know what we're talking about sometimes.
Grasping at straws for sure.
Grasping at straws. Obsessed with your priors to the point where it's downright creepy, man. Like, you're actually weird for being so pathologically obsessed with hating MLS for like whatever reason that you do, that you're pulling out retirement league narratives for Messi.
Yeah.
He won the World Cup 6 months ago. So I don't really know like what else to tell you other than that. Even if Messi was declining, like, what would you it's Messi. Like, what would you expect Inter Miami to do? Lionel, you're a great player, arguably the greatest of all time, but we're really trying to get people on Twitter to stop thinking about MLS as like this retirement league where we just bring guys in when they're in their mid-30s. So unfortunately, we're going to have to pass up on this. You would probably be an asset to the squad, and you're very talented, but we're going to have to pass because people are tweeting about how MLS is a retirement league. So, and we can't have that. We can't confirm those priors. So sorry. We're going to have to let Saudi Arabia take this one.
Yeah.
Wait, like,
there's a reason that he commands such a high value too. Like, I think people are so distracted by the, oh my God, he's old, or, oh, look at the clubs. Dude, I'm sorry, Barcelona, is that is La Liga a retirement league?
It's selectively applied to MLS.
It's dumb. It's dumb. He is going to make the money that is spent on him back almost immediately, and whether people like it or not, he is going to grow the brand of MLS in a positive way. I already know so many like Normans outside of the space of MLS, people who I like, they know that I love MLS. They'll make fun of me and joke around saying, oh, I think I'm actually going to like maybe buy a month of Apple TV so I can watch Messi
it's going to
play.
be like the crazy thing. I mean, when we're talking about just what type of impact this is going to make, people are going to be subscribing to Season Pass all over the world, literally just to watch Inter Miami games. 100%. Like probably millions and millions of people in like most countries. Like that's how famous this guy is. Man, I wanted to just vibe out for a little bit and just talk about how fun it's going to be to watch him play. I imagine most people who are listening to this have watched a fair amount of Messi throughout their lives. I mean, I know I have quite a bit, but just like when you talk about what makes him so phenomenal as a player, what makes him the greatest player of all time? Well, I mean, he's literally in terms of an attacking player, he is the best at every facet of it that I've ever seen, and it's all in one player, and it's just insane to watch. He's the best dribbler I've ever seen by miles and miles. I've never seen anyone who's that smooth on the ball, who is that impossible pretty much to get the ball off of. Like it's just different when he's moving with the ball. And I was really watching that at the Argentina game at the Copa that I was talking about. And like you can really in person, it's much more evident like just how just insanely good at dribbling he is. Like he's the best I've ever seen at it by a country mile. He's the best passer I've ever seen. Best facilitator I've ever seen by miles. By miles and miles. He has the best vision I've ever seen in terms of the passes that he is able to pick out and assist on. Like I've never seen a player who makes every other player on the field, at least in attack, better to the degree that he does with his passing and his vision. He's the best finisher I've ever seen in the run of play and on set pieces. Like it's nuts that there is one player who is simultaneously the best finisher I've ever seen and the best facilitator I've ever seen and the best dribbler I've ever seen, all in the same player. Like it actually boggles my mind that it's possible for one player to not only have all three of those attributes at an elite level, but be the best at all of them. Like it's unicorn stuff. Like I don't know when we're going to see a player like this again. Like, and he did it for Barcelona for years and years. He did it for Argentina for years and years. And finally, that was the one knock on his GOAT status, was that he hadn't won a World Cup, which I always thought I hate dinging individual players for team accomplishments. It's a team game. And the fact that Argentina hadn't won a World Cup yet, I seriously doubt, I don't follow their national team like religiously closely or anything. I seriously doubt it was Messi's fault, their leading goal scorer of all time, that they hadn't won a World Cup. I would imagine that if you broke down the reasons why he hadn't won one yet, it was not because like Messi didn't do enough. Maybe there was.
I mean, pound for pound,
games,
some of those teams that they were facing up against were just ridiculously stacked. Like the German team that won. I don't know. It's just like
you can never credibly blame one guy for a team loss. But either way, it's just like if for some reason maybe you're listening to this and you haven't watched him play a lot and you're planning on watching him play for Inter Miami, I mean, you're gonna see what I mean right away. Like he's the best player of all time at every facet of attacking soccer, and like I don't even think like it's very close. Like I don't know, like there's the famous debate of him versus Ronaldo, which we are not gonna do, but like I think to whatever extent Ronaldo has an argument there, the argument would be Ronaldo is the greatest pure goal scorer of all time, and like maybe like his goal scoring stats are like a little gaudier, but Messi is like the better all around player. He makes the players around him better more than Ronaldo. But like it's just when you think about what Messi is able to do as a facilitator, in addition to being the greatest goal scorer of all time, like there's just no one that you can name that is able to do what he does. Like he's the one and only. So if you haven't watched him a lot, you're planning on watching him play for Inter Miami, you'll see what I mean right away. Like I think, barring some precipitous physical decline that takes place, but like assuming he comes to the league and he's roughly at the same level that he was when he was at PSG and for the World Cup, like this dude is going to put up insane numbers in MLS, insane numbers, because he has more ability than any player who's ever played the game. Like it's not like it would take a crazy and unexpected decline for that not to be the case. And I don't know. I cannot wait to see how it actually plays out. Inter Miami is in 10th place right now.
In the mud.
They just fired their coach. They are dealing, we're dealing, I guess. I don't know how much they're dealing with him right now, but they got sanctioned for violating roster rules. I think those sanctions are over actually. But they've had a tough go pretty much since they joined MLS. They made the playoffs in 2020 and that they made the playoffs in the COVID year where it was an expanded field and then immediately got blown out. And they made the playoffs last year and lost immediately. So they need a boost, needless to say. And, I can't really think of a bigger boost than this.
Yeah.
They signed Messi. It's just crazy to still say it. Like,
they went out and they got him.
They made a pretty big signing. And like I don't know if this alone like makes them MLS Cup contenders. Like I think they have maybe more problems than one player can solve, even if it's Messi. But I mean, goddamn, this is gonna help. I expect him to be balling out immediately. I really don't see why he wouldn't. I think, man, I don't know if I had to put a prediction on it. I think they probably do start getting back into the playoff race. They got the new coach bump. They got the Messi bump, which is as big a bump as I could think of in terms of an impact signing. It's literally Messi. It's something we joke about. Like, oh, you could sign Messi and blah blah blah. Like they signed Messi. They literally are signing him. I don't want to talk about it in present tense and jinx it. Because it's not official yet. But like,
I think it's everything but a formality.
It's a formality at this point.
Have you seen the ticket prices?
Ticket prices are going crazy. They're selling out games where teams are selling out games where they're playing against Inter Miami where he's not even going to be on the team yet.
Yeah.
Like, so I hope those people
It's got to be bots.
Don't get upset. People are gonna show up and be like, "Wait, where is he?" And it's like, "Yeah, he's not arrived yet." I don't really know when he's supposed to arrive.
Yeah, is it going to be this transfer window or the
no?
Next
It's but like so as
window?
I understand it, like it's not a situation where it's like he's coming next year. Like I think they're getting him here this year. So, oh God, it's just gonna be so sick, dude. It's gonna be so sick. Like I love watching him play so much because it's such a unique level that he brings. Like watching it in MLS, like I just still can't believe that we're gonna get to see that. Like it's been talked about as the holy grail for years and years. Like if any team could do it, and then in the last year or two, Inter Miami surfaced as the club that was most connected to him, and like I always thought, it would be sick if they could do that, but like I wasn't sure if they could pull it off, and now that it's happening, like I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to watch it.
I think there's going to be a ton of like really interesting, weird shit that goes on too. Like I'm wondering how many games they go and play in the Dolphins Stadium. Because they're just not like Drive Pink Stadium is like really, I mean, it's brand new, but it's
well, I don't know.
Like,
yeah, like
they're not going to be able to fit everyone else to come to the games.
LAFC, the bank is only, or it's not the bank anymore. BMO Stadium.
Yeah.
When they play LAFC,
but
that's only like 22K capacity. So like they're probably gonna have to play that like at the Coliseum or whatever. Like,
well, because I know the El Tráfico they were gonna play at what stadium were they? That was the Coliseum.
Where USC plays. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember, but. No, like they're probably gonna have to do stuff like that. Luckily, Lumen Field's got 70K capacity if Inter Miami ever comes here. Dude, I'm telling you, I guarantee you that's gonna sell out in 5 minutes.
Easy.
All 70K seats, like a Seahawks game. Like,
yeah,
I literally guarantee you. Like
it'll be crazy.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
It'll be crazy. I'm excited I mean, I had my own from that same. As you talked about in the intro, that same Argentina game, I had my own experience similar. I was in that same press pool, and it's really just magical. And I'm excited that people who have been fans of this league and people who are going to become fans of this league get to experience that. And maybe they find their local team and they get excited about it. Who knows what the hell's going to happen? But it's just, people who are being Debbie Downers about this are losers who aren't excited about anything. They can't be excited about anything. You're right. They're contrarian. And this rocks.
It rocks.
This
objectively.
rocks.
It's so sick. It's so cool. I've been pretty much cloud nine and just like thinking about because I work for the MLS website, so obviously I'm biased.
Homer.
And, I'm a shill.
Yes.
I'm biased in wanting the league to be successful, but more than be successful, I just want the game to work towards the popularity in this country that it has globally.
Yeah.
And this is just such I couldn't think of a better way to do that than this. Like this is the number one holy grail thing that I could have ever dreamed of to make that happen. Like 100%. Like so I don't know. I haven't stopped Cloud9 and really since it happened, and I can't wait to watch it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know, Noah, do you got any last Messi takes? I have a couple more things I want to hit on this episode that are not Messi related. But honestly, like we've been vibing on it for a while now. Yeah. Probably like 30 some odd minutes. And I just don't want to stop just because I'm so hyped, man. I'm so hyped.
There are very few sports moments that are things that you get to experience that like you'll remember. And I think that for Americans relating to soccer, being a kid, being an adult, going to go see Messi play against your team, or being a Miami fan, having Messi on your team, like that is a core memory that is going to make soccer even more relevant than it already is in America, ahead of a World Cup coming here, ahead of all of this. if you look at everything in the grand scheme and zoom out and look at this, it's the Pele moment. When Pele came here, it changed North American soccer for the better. And I think that we're going to look at this and we're going to look back and say, damn, can you believe the pre-Messi era?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. Yeah, if anyone out there ever wants to read about the young player theme that I was talking about in MLS, Charlie Baum writes a column about it every week, Young Players of the Match Day, where he highlights the best under 22 players that featured every single match week. So recommended reading for anyone out there who's interested in that, because it is, as condescending as I might have rightfully, I think, sounded on that topic, it's something that people might not know about, like how the league is kind of tilted towards that in recent years with the U22 initiative and the academy signings. So something that's worth thinking about, worth reading. All right, I think we can just hit on these last two bullets that I wanted to hit. But I was listening to the last episode, and it is. I need to keep doing it because it's helpful to see if my takes actually make sense and if I agree with what I'm even saying. And so I was listening to the last one, and when we were talking about the Charlotte game, and I was making my prediction for how it's going to go, and I was just thinking about it, and I was like, I don't even think I agree with what this guy is saying right now. I was being a little too doomsday about it. I was saying that I expected it basically to be a pretty painful East Coast road trip type pulling teeth road game where Seattle is probably not going to generate all that much in attack, and 0-0 is fine, a 1-1 fine, a win would be pretty surprising. Basically my logic was an East Coast road trip, you pretty much never can expect to take 3 points. It can happen in individual instances, but it's pretty rare. So you just take your point and run. And especially with the squad rotation that Seattle's had to deal with, I'm not necessarily expecting Raul to play a full 90, not necessarily expecting Christian to play a full 90. We already know Nico and Jordan aren't going to be playing a full 90. Mm-hmm. So factoring in all those things, I still think that that's relatively likely to be the type of game it is. But if you just assume that Christian and Raul start this game, this is a winnable game. And I think for the main reason that it's not like Charlotte is that good. They're not that high up on the table. I said this, they've been playing better, which is true, but they give up. They give up a lot of goals. You can get at this team on defense. They concede a lot of soft goals, and they're better in attack when they play at home. But I really don't think it's anything that this defense shouldn't be able to handle. So I think a result in this game should be expected. It should be expected, and it's a winnable game. It's a winnable game. I was talking about it it's not a winnable game a little bit. That's not accurate. I
think we said it would be a challenge no matter what. We more talked about road trips are just always hard in MLS, and that anytime you're going that far to the East Coast, you never know. And I also think we didn't know at that point who was back, who was not going to be back.
True.
I will go to bat for your take because I don't think it was that bad with the information we had. I'm sticking with my take. I still think they're losing that game. But
why do you think they're losing?
I don't know why, but it's just more of a gut feeling. It's more of a just vibes check right here.
I don't
know. You're convincing me. I will say you're changing.
The vibe, I think that's kind of that was the vibe check I had on the last show. Was this is going to be just a terrible game, pulling teeth. But the thing is, if you have if you have Christian back and you have Raul back, I think that's really it. Like right
Yeah.
there. Like if you have them starting
And Jordan's back too, so.
Yeah, I just don't know how much I want to like
No, I'm just
hedge
saying
on Jordan.
the
like,
great
'cause-
part is we know that we want a halftime or a little bit post halftime Raul sub so he doesn't explode his hamstring and out forever, and so you get Jordan back in there,
Yeah.
get some more reps. Listen, I think it's gonna be less. What did I say? I said like 2-0 loss or something crazy like that, or in the
I
last
can't
one.
remember.
I don't remember.
I don't know if we did score
But-
predictions. I hate score predictions with
They're
MLS
dumb.
because like you just can't
They're
really
dumb.
do it.
I don't
But-
know. I don't know. I think that it's gonna be a game that feels like a loss. I'll edit my take to be like it'll be a game that feels like a loss. So it'll either be a draw or a loss or a win.
Yeah,
but it'll
I
feel like a loss.
I still think a draw would be okay.
A draw is great.
Yeah,
I'm in for a draw.
but like I think based on how badly the team could use a win right now, and I was looking at Charlotte and I was like, dude, it's not like this isn't with Real Madrid right here.
Yeah,
all right?
right.
You're not going against Messi.
No.
Like this is a team that you should be able to beat even on the road.
yeah.
So
All right.
I feel-
you convinced me. I'll be a little more.
I felt
Upbeat about it.
given a couple more days after my take, I feel more optimistic about the game.
I think
I'll
it
say that.
was hard to be optimistic after that Portland game.
I think that's sort of what was going on. Yeah, I was just
our vibes have been
I was
boosted.
feeling pretty cynical. Messi's coming to the league. I'm
Yeah.
feeling better. So now I'm fuck it. Seattle's gonna win.
Yeah,
No,
fuck it.
I'm not predicting a win. I just think there's more of a chance of a win than I was getting credit for. All right, that's all I had to say about that. I think we can call it right there. Messi is here.
Cada Messi.
I'm fired up. I can't wait to watch him play in the league. It's gonna be fun. It's a great day for MLS. It's gonna put the league on the map in a way that we haven't seen yet.
I think it'll also let people see the actual quality and talent that this league has.
Yeah, they'll probably watch some games and be like, damn, there's some pretty damn good players in this league. I think a lot of
Ballers.
people who watch MLS who haven't watched it before are surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because like, sometimes MLS gets memed sometimes, but like thing I always tell people is like, yeah, like, it's not the EPL, it's
Nope.
not La Liga or any of that, but it's still a top flight league. It's still pro players. They're still
Yeah.
all talented. Every player on every MLS team is the best player on every team he's ever played on until he went pro.
Yep.
So like you still see some good ball. Like you see some bad ball. Don't get me wrong. You see some real bad ball. But
Midweek Sporting Kansas
but
City.
like as much fun as we have, like whenever there's a bad game in MLS, you see some very good high level competitive ball too. Like you're kidding yourself to deny that. It's a top flight pro league. You see some good ball in the USL, man. Like the
USL just sold one of their players for.
yeah, you're starting to see that in the USL. Like they're getting in on the youth movement too. So I don't know. It's just an exciting day. And we're going to be talking about it a lot more because it's going to be the talk of the league for a while. I'm not going to make it like an Inter Miami podcast. It's just bigger than anything that I've seen
Well,
to date. So,
Sporting Kansas City, you got Ronaldo discovery rights. You know what to do.
that might. I mean, they were trying. All right, we're going to wrap it right there. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to the first 2 episodes. We pulled close to 200 downloads between those 2 episodes, which is like, that is straight up. That's way more than I thought that we were going to be pulling. So thank you so much for everyone who tuned in and listened to this one. Go like, rate, subscribe.
Yep.
Do all that stuff because that stuff really, really helps.
Share it with your friends.
Share it with your friends.
so you can talk about it.
We're going to catch you on episode 4. We out.
Peace.